Hello all, welcome to the channel DEVOPS-TECHSTACK yet again. A big thanks to all the people who are subscribing to the channel, and in turn it make me keep going and come up with new videos. A quick reminder to all of you that this playlist I have created keeping in mind that it should suits for both technical and non-technical background people, and also I am trying to keep my videos with short and crisp information. Now, talking about the previous 4 videos in this playlist, we have discussed all about software development lifecycle, what is DevOps and Agile method, DevOps day-to-day tasks and responsibilities, and the Jira software which comes under the planning phase of software development. If you haven't watched those videos yet, do check that out to be on the same page. I will share the link in description. So till now we discussed only about the planning phase. After that, as we discussed, we have other phases too. But to understand all those phases, operating system knowledge is must. Now let's talk about the agenda for today's video. That is, we are going to discuss below points. The first one is what is operating system? What are the tasks of operating system? A brief introduction on the different type of OS which are available in the market like Unix, Linux, Windows and Mac OS, and why Linux is needed for DevOps. Now let's discuss what is operating system. As we all know that computer understand the binary language that is in form of 0 and 1. So we humans can't directly interact with the computer, and hence operating system comes into picture. Operating system is a program that lets you interact with your computer. Hardware and operating system together decide what the entire system can do. It manages both the hardware and software resources. Two of the most common operating systems are Microsoft Windows and Mac OS. So what are actually hardwares? Hardwares are the physical components of computer like monitor, mouse, etc. Now let's see the flow on how user interact with the operating system. User will not directly interact with the operating system. They will ask the application installed on computer to perform some task that in turn will interact with the operating system, and operating system will query with hardware. And the same flow goes in the reverse order, and the application will provide result to the user. Okay. For example, as a user, you asked computer to create a file, then it followed this flow to process your requirement. Now let's understand about the task of operating system. Very first, OS can act as a file manager. That means it helps user to open, create, delete or close any file. Next is OS act as a secondary memory manager. What is that secondary memory manager? The good example of secondary OS manager is hard disk. OS help to know which space of hard disk is filled or empty. Third is process manager. Process is nothing but a program under execution. Like you are editing some file, means behind the scene, editing of file is executing one process. So OS helps to execute or delete a particular process. Fourth is memory manager. That means the primary manager, not the secondary memory manager. Like for example, we have RAM. It helps to decide which part of RAM is filled or empty. Last one is OS as a CPU scheduler. Means OS will help CPU to pick up the process and execute it. Let's now discuss about the Linux evolution. I will not go in back history of it, but I will try to give you a brief understanding of the overall architecture so that you can relate further in the upcoming videos. Back in the time, programmers wanted to build an operating system that is free of cost and multiple users can access the system. So they come up with the Unix operating system. Using the same code of Unix operating system, which was freely accessible, companies started to build commercial or paid OS, such as IBM built its IBM AIX operating system, Apple brought Mac OS. Similarly, we have HP UX from the HP company. Like that, several companies built their own paid operating system. After a few years, a person named as Linus started working on an operating system that should be free of cost, as Unix was very old that time, and that operating system is nowadays called as Linux. People say Linux as an operating system, but actually it is a kernel. In short, what I have shown here is, as I told that Linux is a kernel, means Linux combined with the GNU. GNU is actually a collection of free software. Together, if they combine, they make a operating system, and so we call as a Linux as an operating system, but actually Linux is a kernel and that is a part of the entire operating system. Linux is an open source operating system, and many companies started building their own operating system. Like Red Hat company built the RHEL operating system. Then from the some groups we have Fedora and Debian operating system. Similarly, we have Ubuntu and CentOS operating system and Amazon Linux operating system that we are going to frequently use on the AWS machine when we will create instances on the AWS cloud. Similarly, we have Ubuntu operating system that is mostly supported for the Kubernetes cluster environment. Then we are using CentOS that is very fast and are frequently used for the demo purpose. Now let's discuss about the very important point for the today's video, that why we need to learn Linux for the DevOps. The very first point to use Linux OS is that it is free to use. Like for example, we have Microsoft Windows, which is a paid operating system. We need to renew our license yearly. No other distributions are available for Windows, but for Linux, we have multiple options from different groups like Red Hat, CentOS, or Fedora. Also, Linux is freely available and no need to renew the license. Also, the second point is that Linux is secure, but for Windows, we need to put antivirus. Linux performance is very good because here we interact through the terminal instead of graphical user interface. We are going to see all this in the upcoming lectures in detail. The next point is software update is very easy. That also we will see in the upcoming lectures. Linux is lightweight OS. It takes less space in the RAM, so it is very fast and its performance is good. Multiple users can work together and access the same server same time with the same performance. Also, this is the architecture of overall Linux system. User will interact with the shell to perform some action like opening a file, and kernel interact with the hardware to complete that particular task. In case of Windows, in place of kernel, we have the operating system as we discussed in the previous slide. In the next lecture, we will understand about virtualization and create virtual machines on AWS cloud so that all the real-time labs we can perform on the same configuration machines. See you in my next video. Till then, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe my YouTube channel DevOps Tech Stack, and you can connect with me on Insta too. Thank you.